Hello and welcome to another Forge Alliance Forever cast, and this time we are going to be looking at a high pro level, you could even say, game on Africa. So let's jump on over into that game and see how these guys are going to get this game on. So we have got a 4 versus 4 on Africa. I don't know if you've seen this map much. It's not been played a whole lot, but it is a kind of cool map, mainly land, but there's a couple of big lakes on the side which offer quite a decent naval fight. So let's go in and have a look at our teams. We have got Laneless. He is on the top team. He is going grey and he is going Aeon. He is right beside Zoc, going his customary orange, who is also going Aeon. We have got Mephi in his usual green, and he has opted for Aeon. There's a little bit of a theme going on here, and we've got Bladir, who has chosen to go Seraphim. So I'm not quite sure what the top team was thinking in terms of all Aeon, except for Bladir, who is going Seraphim, which he doesn't play a whole lot. So we'll see some interesting stuff, I hope. In the south, we have got Blackheart. Yes, Blackheart is actually playing, and he has gone for UEF. He is in his light purple. We have got Lude Gothic Lolly, who you may know as Petric Bones, and he has also gone for UEF. We have got Takedo, so he has gone Cybran because Takedo doesn't know any other factions exist. And we've got Dogla, who has gone for Cybran as well. So we're going to see a little bit of Aeon Cybran action on the top lake somehow. And we're going to see Zoes, of course, from the Seraphim of Bladir. And that'll be going up against Blackheart. And we'll see a whole lot of spam, hopefully in the middle. Now, there is actually a ton of reclaim. If I just zoom out a little bit, you can see just how much reclaim is all over this map. And there is going to be a bit of a race for the center. Who can drop engineers into this little crater and pull up all of those rocks? That is going to be a little bit of a race, and we'll see how these guys are going to get their engineers out there. So we've got a move forward from, well, Mephi starting his run up to the center. He's going to grab those mexes. We should see a lot of forward play from these guys. Zoc is probably going to be slightly in the air support position, which would explain the Aeon, because you have double RAS with the Aeon, and that gives you a lot of a power boost when you're trying to get that T3 air up and running. Let's go and have a look at how the expansion's going. We've got engineers heading up from Takedo. It looks like Petric and him are going to be fighting over mexes. Obviously no real meta about who owns what mexes yet, but that's not a problem. And we've got another engineer up this way, and he's going to be throwing together some Ford factories. So those guys are going to be really handy for getting reclaiming engineers, and of course that spam that is going to be so important to try and fight for the center. You can see Bloody has actually got a engineer. He's heading out that way to grab that mix, and he's going to skip the reclaim. Interestingly, he's going to go straight for the mixes, and we can see a lot of manual reclaim down there. So I'm not sure whether that was an oversight on this nice boulder we can see here, or whether it's just an APM issue. Doesn't really matter. These guys are still a whole lot better than most of us. Alright, and we can see almost identical there from Dogla. He is grabbing his engineer out there. I think he was hoping the engineer could pop up there, and that's actually a bit of a cliff. So the engineer does have to go all the way around to the beach, and so that preemptive move order to where the engineer is now is a little bit of a waste of time. He would have been a lot better off having a move order on the beach. So we can tell there's a little bit of uncertainty around these guys from not having played this map a whole lot. But they are going to be pretty quick to adapt, I would suggest. And we can see transports coming in at almost exactly the same time. So Zoc has got his transports down about 3 seconds before Petric has got his down, and it's a reclaim war, and it looks like Zoc was just slightly faster on the trigger there, and they've moved out of range. So it looks like Zoc is, well, they're going to have to be a little bit careful around who manages to reclaim who here, because if you tell an Engie to reclaim something out of range, it'll try and move right up to it before it starts the reclaim. But if you move it within range and then start the reclaim order just like that, it is going to get the drop on the other engineer and win. But it looks like that initial engagement between those fighting engineers was just a little bit too much in favor of Zoc, and he is going to be able to take the win. There's now 3 Engies, 1 on 1 there, yellow on red, and there we go, Zoc takes the win, and he's getting that land factory down. So that land factory with an attack move, well, that is of course if he doesn't get bombed out, and Boom! 2 engineers down in one shot. That is a little bit of a hover bomb there. Is he going to be able to get another one down against that? No, there's an interceptor. That interceptor from Mephi is going to get in there and save it. So there's a single lone engineer. He is going to be able to complete that factory just as long as no extra bombers are coming in. Looks like Petric doesn't have any more in the air just as of yet, although there is one in construction. And we'll see who can get that done first. That engineer is taking a little while, but I suggest he's probably going to be able to get that factory done before that bomber finishes, and that will mean that the area is pretty secure then for Zoc, because a factory is reasonably hard to kill with T1 bombers, especially when teammates have got interceptors floating all around the place. We can see a little bit for Bladir over here. We've got a couple for Petric, so it looks like the south team is probably just slightly in a better position for air at the moment, and we can see that bomber coming in, and that factory has just finished. It might be possible to factory lock it just for a little while, and he's already targeted the engineer, and the engineer does go down, but of course, there we go. Well, there's actually a land scout, so that's going to be for radar purposes, I would suggest, and then we're going to see a bunch of engineers, most likely. No, actually, he's throwing down artillery, so he's going to try and hold that area. Of course, because you are sitting down in a little bit of a crater, and there's a little bit of a lip on that, you can see that you're going to have to walk right to the edge to be able to hit anything, and the artillery with its high arc of fire is going to be able to do quite a good job of firing up over the top and just making a nuisance of himself. Okay, there's another bomber in from Petric. There is a T1 mobile AA out from Zoc, and it looks like, well, it's still a little bit dubious as to who is going to be able to take the centre. Zoc does have that factory down, but he hasn't been able to make a huge amount of use of it. He's got a couple more engineers going in. One of them dies in transit, but one of them does manage to hit the ground with half health. That's going to give him a little bit of a leg up in terms of reclaim, but still not a lot of it pulled up by Zoc, so he's really not in a strong position having invested in that factory so far. We can see Dogler actually making a little bit of a move up the left-hand side. Lanelis, he's focusing a little bit more on the centre. We do have Zoc's ACU, so he's able to mop up that T1 quite nicely. But Dogler is getting quite a decent little force of T1, and he's going to have to be a little bit careful that it doesn't push through. There is the ACU there for Lanelis, but if the T1 was to skirt around that ACU, they are of course a lot faster, and they would be able to escape from him and get back into this base and cause a bit of damage. So he doesn't want to allow that to happen, and he's going to just make sure there aren't any run-bys. They are, well, the T1 units are reasonably restricted. We've got choke points effectively all around here. That is a little bit of a hill, which is impassable. So yeah, I would say that you can create a reasonable amount of choke points, but he just has to be a little bit careful. And of course, if Dogler goes to T2, he will be able to throw down some Wagners, and that's going to be a little bit of a problem for Lanelis if those pop up on the beach on the far side. Navy game, we've got Bladir in here. He is Seraphim. Now, I've seen Bladir use the Torp ACU upgrade quite a lot when he's Cybrid, but this time he is Seraphim, so he doesn't actually have that. And we can see that Blackheart's actually in a slightly better position in the Navy. He's got two and nearly a third naval factory down, and he's got a couple of frigates already out compared to the one frigate and single naval factory of Bladir. So it's looking a little bit stronger in the water from Blackheart. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do. Well, what Bladir is going to be able to do to stop him. He does have a PD on that island, but it's going to be a hold out for a little while, but it's not going to be the most effective thing, especially if you get some higher tech Navy on the field. In terms of those T1 pushes, there's a nice little run by from Takedo. He's just skirted up around the outside here. He's going to do a little bit of damage. I think he probably wants to try and take out that mass extractor, but there is a Rhino. Well, that's his Rhino, so that's actually going to do a really handy job. So now we've got 3 Mantis and a Rhino coming in here, and actually nothing to stop him. The ACU for Bladir is down here, but of course slow-moving ACU is not going to be able to move up in time to intercept those guys if they were to move. But unfortunately for Takedo, it looks like he's actually forgotten about those guys, and he's just got them sitting there not doing any work. So a little bit of a forgetful move there from Takedo, and he's probably a little bit more worried about taking out this T1 artillery with the ACU. He does need to keep it moving because artillery is a non-tracking projectile, but if you're not moving, then you're going to take quite a lot of those hits, and you don't want to be doing that. That can rip through the health on your ACU really quite quickly and cause a problem. Zoc it looks like he's managed to get down enough engineers in here, and there's actually a supporting PD there from Mephi. So Zoc will secure the reclaim in this crater, but there is another cheeky little Medusa sitting there, and it's firing away at that land factory, and it's going to be able to just keep on denying those units. There we go, we can see the unit that was under construction gets destroyed when the round hits, so that will perpetually destroy what is coming out of the factory and really lock that factory out. Fortunately for Zoc though, he does have a number of engineers. Unfortunately they are building mixers which are then going to be taken out by the artillery, so he does need to deal with it, and we can see actually he's put a fervor out, and that fervor has come up to just destroy that Medusa, so he has managed to, for now, secure that crater for himself. Mephi's doing a reasonably good job here of throwing down some T1 spam and securing the area. Well, Takedo, he's invested in that shift to T2. He doesn't have a lot on the field yet. It looks like he's actually throwing down a Cerberus turret, so he's playing a little bit more defensively. He wants to stop those T1 artilleries from raining down on his commander, and the Cerberus turret's going to do a reasonable job against those guys, but anything stronger coming along is going to be too much of a challenge for that Cerberus. We see a cheeky jester out for Dogla. He's coming around and just mopping up these scouts, which are just trying to do a little bit of harassment, and he's just going to clean those guys up. There's actually a couple of tanks in here, a couple of Auroras for Mephi. Now, they do not have a lot of health, but they were able to 2-on-1 that Mantis, but there's 3 more. Well, actually a Rhino as well. It's easy to clear that out, and Dogla's looking really reasonable in the Navy here. He's got his 2 naval factories out, he's got a frigate and a submarine, but unfortunately for him, it looks like Landless has also got some blazers out. So the blazers will help against the frigate, and we can see the frigate going down shortly, and it's going to be a little bit of a problem then for Dogla, because his ACU is out here. And we actually saw in a tournament game recently ACU getting trapped out on this island and getting destroyed by floaty units and navy, so he does want to be careful he doesn't get his ACU stuck out there. There is a submarine, he will be able to gap across that little body of water and get his ACU to safety before taking too much damage from a single T1 sub. Of course those things are quite underpowered. We can see there's a dump of extra build capacity coming in from Blackheart, so we can see he's shifted up to the T2 Navy, and that's going to be a big problem for Bladir. Bladir's still sitting on, well, he's got a T2 HQ up for his Navy, but he's got no other support. We can see quite a decent amount of frigates there for Blackheart, so those guys are going to be a bit of a challenge. Right now they could actually roll in and do a lot of damage to Bladir right now. Blackheart just being a little bit cautious with those and making sure he's got that T2 firepower online before he really heads in. There's a nice cheeky little set of attack missiles heading out towards Bladir's base, and one we've got a stack of T2 mixers up here, upgraded and surrounded with storage, and unfortunately for Bladir, he forgot his attack missile defense, which is just going up now, but not before he loses a bunch of T2 mixers, and he would be in a little bit of trouble actually if, well, there's power. No, actually, how much power is Bladir generating right now? He's on 527 power, so he's mostly running just off these T1 gens, which is going to make it pretty hard for Takedo to snipe. So no power snipe incoming, but the mass snipe is going to hurt Bladir. He's down to 25 mass income, which puts him well at the bottom of the board for mass income. You can see Landless really just clearing up here. He is forcing that ACU out. The ACU still not evacuating the area. I think he's probably a little bit cautious of all of that Landless has in the water. He doesn't quite want to walk through it at the moment, but he does need to get out of there before it becomes untenable. And he's actually got a T2 mix on there, and well, he's throwing down an upgrade. We see a notify for what that was. No, he doesn't. Looks like he doesn't have the notify mod on, but that's alright. It could well be the torpedo upgrade, because he is suffering a little bit in the Navy game against Laneless. How is the T1 spam going? Well, we can see Zoc participating in T1 spam. Mephi, well, he's so far over this side, he's actually only spamming engineers, and he's picking up a heck of a lot of reclaim. Let's just go and have a look at how much reclaim these guys have got. So we've got 16k for Mephi. We've got, let's go through the top team first. So we've got 4 for Bladir, and Zoc is sitting on 7. So Mephi doing a fantastic job, when that just reflects the number of engineers that he's got floating around in the field. Those guys are pulling up mass and really giving Mephi a big lead. He's actually sitting on 84 mass income, which is at the head of the table, so he's doing fantastically in terms of grabbing that reclaim. Dogler down here in the bottom left, how much is he on? He's sitting on 3.5, so not a lot of reclaiming going on for him. We've got Takedo on 6,900, so he's doing reasonably well, and Blackheart, who's been doing most of his fighting in the Navy, he's managed to pick up 8,300 mass in terms of reclaim, so quite good. He does have that T2 online. We can see there's 2 destroyers online for him, and there's a single T2 destroyer, so Bloodier is matching the T2 naval upgrade that Blackheart is putting up, but Bloodier is, well, he's just a little behind on production capability in the water here. We can see that just the sheer number of engineers that Blackheart has got in that factory, so he's really focusing that Navy game and making sure he can kick Bloodier out if he needs to. He is venturing into the water, which could be a little bit of a problem because the T2 destroyers for Seraphim can actually submerge and be a little bit hard to hit by anything other than torpedoes, and that would be a problem for a UFACU. So he does have to be just a little bit wary of those torps, and especially now that there's 2 destroyers online. If Bloodier was to submerge those, he would be able to do a bit of damage to the ACU Blackheart without really taking too much. Of course, the torpedo damage is a little bit of a joke on the UEF, on those Valiant class destroyers, because they have about 30 DPS in torpedo damage, so the Seraphim destroyers would actually be really well off here to submerge and stop taking that direct fire from the UEF destroyers and just be hitting them with torpedoes, because they are going to be doing really well. And of course the frigates have got no torpedo damage on them at all, so it would do quite a lot in Bloodier's favour if he was to throw those guys under the water and switch them to submarines effectively. So he's still managing to hold on to this centre crater. There's only a little bit of reclaim left. He's actually, well, actually that's all the mass has been pulled up. That's just a little bit of decal by the looks of it. And he's just got a few further sitting in there, just throwing shells out at anybody who wants too close, just to try and hold the centre. We've got a shift to T3 air from Petrick. We can see he's actually got a number of ASFs out, and they are hovering over the north and really just denying air. So far, these guys in the north have got nothing to answer those T3 ASFs. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem. I would not be surprised at all if we were to see a strat bomber popping out, and there is a strat bomber under construction right now. So it's going to be very hard for the North to stop. They will need at least T3 tech to get some SAMs up, and ideally they would get some ASF. Now, how is the upgrade? So it looks like Zoc is getting reasonably close. He's going to have his T3 factory online soon, but he's still at quite a disadvantage. Petrick has still got half a dozen ASF floating around his base, and they're going to be able to pick off the ASF coming out of Zoc's base one at a time, and they're not going to really take a lot of damage. Let's see what Petrick is going to choose to do with that bomber. So he is maybe trying to clear out the centre. I'm not sure if these guys in the centre are really that big a problem to be worth diverting the strat bomber. No, he has thought better of that idea, and he has sent them out across against Bloodier. So not only is Bloodier's navy in a shambles against Blackheart's navy here, there is a strat bomber coming in to add insult to injury, and that is going to take out all of the build capacity and finish off that T2 HQ. So that kicks Bloodier completely out of the water. There is a single torpedo launcher still here. It's gonna die in just a second, and that's going to be quite a problem. Bloodier is evacuating the area. We can see Mephi's actually got some T3 mobile air and anti-air out, and those guys are going to be able to try and bring down that strat bomber. But of course strat bombers are a lot faster than them, and they are going to have to wander around the map hoping they can catch that guy, and so far they have done no damage at all. And well, let's see what there we go, the preferred target is T2 Max. So it looks like Bloodier's actually given everything across to Mephi, and that'll be because he's got no build capacity left. So Bloodier lost his naval factory. That's where he was pumping most of his mass, and he actually has got nothing left to spend it on. So he is just going to give it across to Mephi. That's going to give Mephi a little bit of an eco boost, and that's going to help him while Bloodier goes and gets into the back. It looks like he's just retreating. He's heading back here. He's going to build a mix just for the sake of it, and he's probably just going to try and keep his AC alive at this point, because he really needs to find a way to fight back against Blackheart in the water here. Fortunately for him, Blackheart is not Cybran, because if Cybran destroyers happen to be in this pond, they would be able to wander out of here and make a real nuisance of themselves into the back of Mephi's base, and that would probably be the end of the game. But fortunately for them, he is UEF, and that means the rather limited range on those UEF destroyers do mean that that's not going to end the game just yet, but they are going to be able to rain fire down on anything within their fire radius. Let's just have a quick look at what that radius is. We can see there that basically all of the starting mixes and anything within that original zone for Bloodyear, that is going to be a fair game target and is quickly going to be lost. So how are these guys going to react? Well, we can see Zoc has actually managed to get a little cluster of ASF out. He is well outnumbered by Petric, and he's actually trying to play hide and seek with them a little bit, and he's just trying to dodge, and unfortunately he's flown over a cruiser as well, so those are going to mostly go down. There's still a couple left. He does have a few back at base, and that probably puts him not too far behind Petric. Petric may still be focusing on those strap bombers. No, he's going for scouts. So Petric is going to just find out what is going on in the north, and he's still got air control, but he will have to be careful. If he stops focusing on ASF for a little while, Zoc will be able to catch up, and it will swing back in the favour of the North team. You can see a loyalist out here for Takedo. He's just making a pain of himself by taking out all the reclaiming engineers, just trying to block Mephi. How is Mephi going on that reclaim game? Because he has been on A+ reclaim games so far this match, and he is sitting on 21k reclaim, so still doing fantastically, but he is starting to lose all of those little engineers that he had floating around. And we can see Doglin now starting to do the same thing, pick up the last of the reclaim that is floating around here, and all of those wrecks that have been laid down. It looks like Mephi is maybe thinking about how he can try to clear out these guys, and well, there's actually a problem. I was talking before about how the destroyers for UEF don't have a lot of range. Well, unfortunately for the North team, these guys, Governor class cruisers, they've got a heck of a lot of range, and let's just go and see how much range they have. That outer line is the TAC missile range, so those guys are going to be able to throw TAC missiles out anywhere within that radius, and that is going to cause a little bit of hurt to Mephi's base. So I wouldn't be surprised if we were only seeing cruisers coming out of this factory now, and we can see the impetus has come right off that build, and all of those engineers are paused, so the Blackheart can redirect his mass into other things. Now, what else is he going to be putting his mass into? Let's just have a little bit of a look around and see if we can spot what he's going to spend it on. Well, he's pulling up his T1 PGens, converting them back into mass. He must be sitting on a decent amount right now. Perhaps he's just going to eco for a little bit now that the pressure is off. And we can see Takedo trying to play a little bit in the air game. He's got a stack of interceptors. They're only T1. They are not going to fare too well against the ASF that Zoc has managed to get up, but still a little bit of an air presence, and that's actually just to protect those reclaiming engineers coming in on a transport. So there's going to be even more reclaim for the South team. So the South team looking very strong right now. They've managed to kick Bloodyear out of his base and relegate him down to a single mass income, and that is just the generated mass from the ACU, so absolutely nothing from Bloodyear. He really is not a feature in this game now, unfortunately. And TAC missiles firing in, we've got, must be from the ACU, so it must be a TAC upgrade on the ACU, and we can see one extractor, or two extractors have already gone down, a third is just destroyed now, and so he is really harassing Laneless. He's on 41 generated mass, so that really puts him near the bottom of the pile, not quite the bottom because Bloodyear lost his entire base, but right at the bottom of the pile in terms of still actively playing players. And well, Laneless is doing quite well in the Navy game right now, so Doppler is going to have to be a little bit careful of that ACU because the destroyers coming in, there's also quite a lot of hover. There is enough there to cause real problems to that ACU, and he's starting to dodge those really slow moving rounds coming in from Aeon destroyers. So of course the Exodus class destroyers really slow muzzle velocity because of just how slow those things go across and how easy they are to dodge, but there's also a bunch of T2 coming in as well. Now this is going to be a little bit of a problem. Now, I was saying earlier about how we saw in a tournament an ACU got trapped on this island and got taken out, and we could be about to see exactly the same thing. That's not looking the best for Doggler. He is actually getting a little bit stuck here. He's taking that destroyer fire, he's down into the red, and is he going to be able to bring anything up? He's got a bunch of destroyers here, but he's too busy microing that ACU. He's too busy dancing around in little circles to even bring those destroyers. There, he's managed to get them up into a slightly more forward position, and they are going to be able to lend some support now, but it could be too late. He's down to 2,500 health, and every time he takes a couple of rounds from those Exodus class, just vaporised them further. 1900, 1800 health. He's really starting to struggle. In the centre here, it looks like Takedo's managing to push forward quite well, really giving Mephi some trouble. But Mephi has managed to throw together a GC. That's going to be a real problem, but how is this ACU going to survive? He's down into the red. I just don't know. Well, he's actually up to 4k, and the destroyers that he brought in have managed to pull back, well, take out all of the Laneless's assault there. So there's just that one hover tank left, and it looks like he's just going to be able to survive. He's down to the yellow. Well, he's up into the yellow now. So there is another destroyer coming in, but a single Aeon destroyer against a stack of Cybran ones is not going to last too well at all. But we can see here that the GC from Mephi, so Mephi's really focused his eco on getting this experimental out. He's just wandering through here, and interestingly we can see how the GC, even though it's wandering through the water, it's actually got its head still out and it's still able to fire its face laser. So it is now firing its face laser into all of that navy, and it's doing a pretty good job of clearing that out. So Blackheart is actually losing everything that he had invested in here, and that's going to perhaps let Blodia back into the game. I'm not sure if he is going to be able to do anything at this point. It looks like he's probably just leaving his ACU to rust under the bottom of that lake and give all of the eco that he could have had across to Mephi, and that's going to be able to give Mephi the ability to pump out these experimentals. Now, we've still been seeing those cruisers out from Blackheart, but cruisers have no direct fire on them and are not going to last very long against the GC at all. And we can see, well, actually Laneless could be in a little bit of a problem here, because that ACU doesn't have any torpedo assistance, and the Cybran destroyers have actually got quite a lot of torpedo damage on them. So there's what, five Salems in the immediate area. We can see the torpedoes going in. It looks like Laneless has perhaps just given up. He is on upgrade, but he's down to 1400 health. He's not going to last long at all. He's actually just about to vaporize, and there he goes. Wow, that was perhaps a little bit of a miscalculation by Laneless to sit in the water and eat Salem torpedoes until he dies. So a bit of a problem there for him, and he is ejected from the game. And well, there's actually a nice crowd of strats. I don't know what Zoc is preparing there, but well, it looks like the GC he wasn't able to pick up all the veterancy from those engineers. Blackheart did destroy them, control K'd them before the GC was able to pick them up. But of course the nice hover flag here is doing a really good job of assisting that GC, and they took out all those gunships. Now what is the ACU from Blackheart? He's coming in to reclaim those ascendants, so really nice there. He's pulling away all of the anti-air support that was going along with that GC. I'm not quite sure why they didn't follow up. They are just sitting there and just getting destroyed now, and he's just given the move order, so he's just remembered. But unfortunately it does mean that that GC is really without air support right now, and he's going to take a lot of fire from those gunships. We've got torpedo bombers, but those torpedo bombers are a little bit late. They're not going to be able to do anything anymore, but those gunships are going to be able to sit there, and there's also a broadsword that's going to do a lot of damage. So those guys are going to be able to just sit there and eat away that GC, and they're probably going to be able to kill it, because it is down into the yellow, 49k health remaining on that thing, and nothing so far in terms of really an ability to take an ACU out of the game. So Blackheart's ACU is still way back here. The GC has no torpedoes, so it is not able to do anything to destroy that, and it looks like it's actually just going to sit up here and take damage until it dies. It could be what we see. Well, that's perhaps not the best use of it. It did get a rank of veterancy, but still, it is taking an awful lot of fire. Zoc is bringing his ASF in. I'm not quite sure what the plan. Actually, they were escorting those strat bombers. The strat bombers look like they're probably going for Petrik's ACU. He is shielded, and all of those strat bombers are going to go down before that ACU takes a single hit. So that was not very effective here, but it does free up the ASF from Zoc to go and take out these gunships while Petrik's ASF are occupied. So a little bit of a win there. It keeps the GC alive for now, because all those gunships are down. He's well into the red though, only 12k hit points left, and I'm not sure what he's going to do with that. He's probably going to try and get it out of there, because you don't want to leave the reclaim. If he was to charge forward, he would get a few more kills before that GC drops dead and leaves a big chunk of mass on the doorstep of the south team. And he's actually had the eco going in the background to throw together another GC, and that's coming down here from the north. It looks like he's making a beeline to this forward outpost. There is no ACU there, but there is some radar, and that will be a little bit of a useful kill for them to get through and really just get down into the bases of one of these southern players. We can see that Takedo's actually spotted that, and he's making a beeline for the water. So he's jumping straight where the GC face laser cannot hit him, and he is going to just make sure his ACU is secure. This GC here, wow, that is sitting on 5,000 hit points, really struggling to stay alive. He's probably in all likelihood going to drop a big chunk of reclaim right on the doorstep of Blackheart, and that's going to be a big a big boost to Blackheart to get his eco up and running again, because we can see a lot of it was taken out here, and Blackheart is actually sitting on 95 income, which is just a fraction of what it was before. And we can see that, wow, 2,000, that GC is just about dead. He has got 1,800 left. That ACU, in all honesty, well, he's on an upgrade, so he won't be able to issue a reclaim order, but the torpedo bombers here are going to be able to finish that guy off. And come on, one more hit is all that it's going to take. There it goes. That GC goes down just as this one comes up into a Monkey Lord. Now, a GC does have a lot more HP than a Monkey Lord, so it will win in a one-on-one fight against an unvetted Monkey Lord, but it's not going to leave a lot of health left for fighting other things. Have we got any other experimentals on the way? Has Dogler managed to put anything together? Doesn't look like we've got anything coming from him. There is another Monkey Lord about 50% of the way built, and we've got, well, it looks like Petrick is probably still focusing mostly on air. So that's, well, that GC does win against Monkey Lord. He's about a third of the health on that guy there, and he's going to go through and smash away that forward base of Takedos. So that's a little bit of a problem, and there's nothing much left. Depends entirely on whether he can get this Monkey Lord completed in time, and by the looks of it, that's probably a no, and the GC would be able to get to the Monkey Lord, take out the build capacity, and deal to it before it got online if he was to make a beeline to it. But it looks like he's actually maybe going to lose it to air. Oh, Takedo, that is a little bit of a problem, and you hit in the water, and unfortunately your head was sticking out, and Mephi happened to spot that your head was sticking out from the water, and that's the end of Takedo. So that actually negates the entire build on that second Monkey Lord and brings Takedo out of the game. There's actually a lot of flak online there, so that Galactic Colossus down to 1600 health is going to go down to those broadswords, and there it goes. There's still a lot of flak on the ground, so Petrick probably wants to get away from those, but that is going to offer up a ton of reclaim to Dogler, so that is going to help Dogler a lot, especially because he's got no pressure on him at all at the moment, because Lanos of course died up in the pond, and that means that Dogler is free to do whatever he likes, and I would perhaps expect that might be eco up, but it looks like he's maybe not. Let's just see if we can spot. Oh, there we go. He's throwing all of his mass into a megalith in the water. That is the current plan. So it looks like the North team is hiding their ACUs, and they're throwing up a ton of torpedo defenses. So they are expecting maybe something jumping in the water with them that has torpedoes, and they want to be able to make sure that doesn't survive. But we've got another GC online, so Mephi is still pumping out those GCs. He lost his hold on that pond a little bit because he only had the one GC in the water, and of course it died, and it means that Blackheart, especially with the ACU sitting right there, is able to pull his navy back online, and there's a lot of reclaim. We can see all these guys pulling up mass for Blackheart, so we can expect a really big tally for the reclaim figures for him. And well, there's actually another GC here that has just been pinged down, probably by Petrick, and that is heading straight for Dogler's base. The ACU is well hidden under the water, and the megalith is still well protected, but all of the engineers are floating on the water, so it might actually be possible for Mephi to take out all of that assisting engineers and really slow down that megalith build. It is nearly completed though, so there's not a lot of hit points left to go on that thing until it comes into play, and that megalith will be a little bit of a problem for the GC. Well, it depends on the range really, and it depends on what he does with his ACU. So we can see the ping goes down, so they've spotted the ACU. Again, we've got a number of broadswords. Those guys are just going to really eat into health, and that megalith is online now. Yeah, its gun is out of the water. So we've got one of its main turrets that's out of the water. We can see that it's doing a nice little job, and it's just pounding away at that GC. So the GC is not going to be able to do a lot of damage. It's probably going to target that Megalith, or actually manage to do a little bit of damage to Dogla's ACU. He might have come out of the water for just a second and taken a few hits, but that GC is going to go down in just a second. Even though there's a ton of flak all around here, the broadswords have just got so much HP on them, they are not going to be able to rip through those guys, and they are going to finish off that GC, which leaves an unchallenged Megalith down here for Dogla, who lost a little bit of his HP, but nothing too substantial, and that is going to be free to come north. So we're really looking for game enders now, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was going to come from the air from Petric, because he has got a well-established hold on air right now. Zoc has got virtually nothing. He's sitting on, well, he's on 5.4k power, so he does have Raz, but he's got no assistance. That T3 factory is not even producing, so these guys have given up producing air in their entirety. They still have these 3 ACUs. Oh, okay. What on earth was that? A GC. Oh, are you kidding? Oh dear. These guys really need to take care of where their ACUs are and if they're sticking out of the water. And that's a little bit of a fail, unfortunately, and that means that Blackheart's actually ejected from the game as well. So Mephi doing a fantastic job with those GCs and really just getting in there and managing to shoot the heads off the enemy ACUs. That is really quite a nice little play. Unfortunately for these guys, they still are massively lacking in air control, and Petric can do whatever he wants in the air. He's got a ton of broadswords built up. He can build strap bombers, he can do whatever he wants, and if he was to just come up here, he would be able to just rip away any eco that Mephi has actually got online, and that's going to end the game. So I'm not quite sure why he hasn't used his air advantage to do that. We can see in chat there, Takeda's actually warning against nukes, and let's just have a quick look just in case there is a nuke launcher. And well, I'm not really seeing anything that looks like a nuke launcher. I'm not sure these guys have got anything left to be able to throw together a nuke once they've finished building these GCs. And how many GCs has Mephi actually got online right now? He's got those 2, and there's a 3rd coming down there. So he does actually have 3 GCs, which is quite a lot of firepower in one spot. Unfortunately for them, they've got nothing that can take out their broadswords, which will be taking their HP away as soon as they can. And there is a single Megalith here. 3 GCs, of course, will be able to laser away that Megalith without too much difficulty. And we might just speed it up a little bit because we look to be in a little bit of a preparing phase. We can see Petric is now throwing down a Fat Boy, so he's hoping to be able to kite those GCs before they manage to do any damage, but I'm not sure if a Fat Boy is really the best idea here. The absolute control he has over air is by far the biggest advantage that he has, and he would be able to have enough of a stack of broadswords to just eat those GCs away in a few seconds and not have to worry about it too much. There's a lot of flak there, but broadswords honestly have got so much health on them that even a decent stack of flak is going to have quite a hard time at destroying them. And we can see he's still only got half a dozen broadswords, so there's not quite enough, and they are really bunched up as well. Flak, of course, has a lot of area of effect, and if you keep your broadswords bunched up, they will all take fire at once, rather than just the single flak doing single damage to a broadsword at a time. So it does mean that they need to fan out a little bit, and he's brought them away a little bit from the flak. He's trying to bring them around the other side, and that Megalith has gone down. 1 GC down into the red, but he's not in danger of actually dying, and well, it looks like the Fat Boy is probably going to be a little bit too late and not be able to deliver enough damage. Those 3 GCs have just got so much health on them that the one Fat Boy is just not going to be able to deliver enough of a punch to take those guys out before they can walk all the way down into the base. And he's actually walking awfully close within a few seconds. Like, by the time he pops up on the other side of that beach, he's actually going to be within range, and that's going to be a big misstep. And he's actually spotted that, and he's pulled back, and he's bringing it back down into the water. So he's thought twice about bringing that Fat Boy into range of those GCs, and he's pulling it away. Now those guys are just about on top of him though, so as soon as he brings it out of the water, they are going to kill him, and the Fat Boy is really not going to last too long against 3 face lasers of GCs. So not a great idea for that Fat Boy, unfortunately. And well, he's struggling a little bit, I would suggest, for what to do next. He's actually throwing down a second Fat Boy, which is pretty useless right now. He does have shield on that ACU, but 3 GCs wandering into the base. They've got that flak support, so it's going to be reasonably difficult to hurt them by air. And that fat boy looks like he's thinking about popping out of the water right behind them. He might be able to do a little bit of damage. At this point, he really doesn't have anything left to lose. Even if he loses that GC, it's no worse than leaving it in the water and dying with it not firing a shot. So it does start to fire away on those GCs. He really needs to target the most damaged one first, and it looks like the bombers are actually managed to whittle a reasonable amount of health, but they are now stomping all over Petrik's base. We can see the income's now dropping. He's got 216 generator mass. He's down to, well, 16k power down to. He's still by far in the lead for power generation, but it's not going to last too long with all these GCs stomping around the base. And it looks like he's trying to get the ACU into a transport, and it's right beside a GC, and that is awfully close, and the transport is, oh, okay, the transport died just before he was picked up, and so that did mean that the ACU didn't die, but unfortunately for him it means that he's sitting at the feet of a Galactic Colossus, and there's just not a lot he can do, and there he goes, so he is out of there. And so it looks like it's turned quite dramatically in favour of the North team. This game is all but over because these guys managed to let themselves get picked off. Mephi was able to throw together so much firepower and just bring it to bear, and there was just nothing at a single point that was able to answer that. And so even though the South team has got quite a lot of firepower online, they just didn't have anything to stop those GCs. And there is a Monkey Lord now and a Megalith, but well, I mean, there's two damaged GCs, but I mean, there's going to be more on the way. Actually, there's two more already on the way. So Doggle's actually just going to drop out of this game. He knows he can't win, and that's the end of it. So quite a nice game. There was a nice little turn, and basically we can see how powerful GC spam is. Just the number of hit points on those guys, the ability to just smash their way down, take out the target, and just not die because they have so many hit points. Alright, let's just throw up a GG on that one because that was a nice game. Oh, excellent. Alright, well played to these guys. That was an excellent game, and it's really nice to see some games that aren't desynced. So, awesome to see. I think it is disconnects. Well, if you leave the game, I'm seeing a lot of times when someone leaves the game and it causes a desync in the replay. So, just a plea to those guys who are playing these, if you are out of the game, just hang in there and don't quit out of it because it kills the replay for us. So yeah, that'll be good. Alright, thank you for watching. I'm going to